Back in 2008, it was Mitt Romney who stepped aside for John McCain, even though it wasn't decided. He moved out of the way. What happens? I mean, obviously, I know that this has been the part of the message. The others should move out of the way. What happens if they don't?
Well, I don't want to presume to speak for Rick Santorum or Newt Gingrich. The decision to get into a race or get out of a race is a very personal one that can only be made by the candidate. But I can speak to what happened 4 years ago when Mitt Romney stepped aside for John McCain. At the time, John McCain did not have the delegates he needed to clinch the nomination, but he was clearly on a path to doing that. The math was very challenging for Mitt Romney, and he made the decision that at that time, the country being at war in Iraq, it was important for John McCain to begin to rally the party behind him so he could prepare himself for the fall election campaign. So Mitt Romney stepped aside. Now, in Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich, these are both decent, honorable men who have run good campaigns. They are good Americans. They are good Republicans. And ultimately, I'm confident they'll make a decision that's not only right for their party, but right for them.
You know, Eric, as that math, I'm sorry, this is Will Kane, as that math becomes more and more obvious to a non-biased observer, it makes you wonder then why Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich aren't dropping out. And there does seem to be a lot of personal animus towards Mitt Romney from these candidates. What has Mitt Romney done to make these guys so mad?
Well, primary campaigns or any campaign is like that. Emotions run high, elbows get sharp and get thrown in different directions. But usually when the contest comes to its natural end in a primary, people get behind the inevitable nominee. In this case, it's Mitt Romney. That's what happened 4 years ago, by the way. John McCain and Mitt Romney had a very spirited contest. But you saw Mitt leave that race, fundraise for John McCain, act as a surrogate for him on the economy in the fall. He appeared at all his debates, did numerous media interviews for Senator McCain. And I'm sure that in this case, this year, you'll see the same thing happen with our opponents.
Good morning, sir. It's fair to say that John McCain was considerably a more moderate candidate than the ones that Governor Romney faces now. Is there a concern that the pressure from Santorum and Gingrich might force the governor to tack so far to the right it would hurt him with moderate voters in the general election?
Well, I think you hit a reset button for the fall campaign. Everything changes. It's almost like an Etch A Sketch. You can kind of shake it up and we start all over again. But I will say, if you look at the exit polling data in Illinois, you'll see that Mitt Romney is broadly acceptable to most of the factions in the party. You have to do that in order to become a major party nominee. He's winning conservatives. He's winning Tea Party voters. He's winning men, women. He's winning Catholics and Protestants. There is a growing recognition within the Republican Party that Mitt Romney is going to be the nominee, and there's two reasons for that. The first is people see in him the capacity of someone who can lead on the economy. And secondly, they see someone who can defeat Barack Obama. There's a real sense that the president is vulnerable this year because of the domestic problems he faces, and Mitt Romney is the person with the experience and the qualifications to take him on.
I want to ask a quick question of Ron Brownstein. Do you think that's true, that it's an Etch A Sketch analogy, that, listen, once the primary is done, you get to 11:44, and the deal is done, everybody forgets and you kind of reset?
You get a second look, there's no question about it, but it is not a complete, I think, blank slate. I mean, there are positions that Romney has taken on a variety of issues, particularly those, I think, relating to Hispanics, and to some extent the debate over contraception and its potential effect on college-educated women, that he is going to have to deal with going forward. But there is no doubt, Bill Clinton came out of the 1992 primary bruised and battered. He got a second look and ultimately won. You do get a second chance, but it's not as though the slate is completely blank.
Bill Clinton had a third-party candidate helping him.
Yeah.